like my brother Todd, like he talks about playing poker, and then like band tour stuff, and then
What band is it?
I'm on.
No.
He's the tour manager for the Violent Femmes.
Okay.
I don't know if you know them. They had like one not huge song, but they had like one big song back in the day. That "Let me go on like a twister in the sky." Let me go on.
Yeah.
To know you're the one. Yeah, that. So, but it's weird because they're
That's
like
beautiful. That's beautiful, by the way.
What's that? Oh.
Yeah, solid 7 out of 10.
There you go.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 36 of Podcast Reload. It's the general gaming podcast by Sifted.net subscribers, where we invite community guests onto the show to talk about the games industry in all its weird ways. I am your host, Vin Hill, and joining me as always is, of course, my sole Japan dweller, Evan Piotrowski.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us as well is our community guest, and this week we have back TheImpartialist, also known as Nick.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Not too bad. Not too
Not
bad. Corrections and stuff. Have we got anything? We only just put out the last episode, so I'm not too sure if we got anything.
No, I think we're good.
I think we're all good for now, anyway. Until someone calls it out on some shit. But as we played Save or Kill with you last time, Nick, we're gonna dive straight into what we've been playing this week and extend that a little bit. So, who wants to go first? Who are we doing first? Because you guys have been playing something similar, I presume. So
yeah. So let's that's kind of what Nick and I have been playing are going to bleed into each other. So let's start off with you, Vin. What have you been playing this past week?
Not too much different, to be honest. I'm still playing Horizon.
How many hours in are you?
I think I got to 50 today, 50th hour maybe.
Wow.
So yeah,
nice.
I'm basically just combing the map at this point. I'm just doing absolutely everything I can find. I'm trying to hold off from all the main quest stuff so I can make it last a little bit longer, which is probably
Go ahead.
No, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, is this so you've been playing for 50 hours? Is this game PP? Platinum potential?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, like I had a look at the trophies for the first time actually today. I looked at them and I thought it's doable. They're mostly just collectible stuff, and I'm pretty much combing the map as it is anyway, so I don't see why not. But the only thing that's really changed, I would say, still same amount of praise. I've got a couple more criticisms, but nothing game breaking really. Like the only major criticism that I've got for the game is just the resource management stuff is absolutely horrendous at times. Like when you start collecting a lot of things, there's just no real way to organize it all. The game sort of does it automatically, but it's not in a good way.
Are you talking menus? Like juggling menus and stuff?
So like resources that you get, which you can find around the world, which you scavenge, pick up from your kills and stuff like that, they're sort of just dumped into a folder, and they stack all differently, and they're all in different types, and you don't know what you need to keep and what you need to lose and things like this. But you only have like 100 slots or something if you level up your bag to the max that it can get. But once you're there, like you've got all this stuff and you don't know, all right, what do I need this for? Like it doesn't actually tell you what you can craft each individual thing into, so you can only figure out the other way where you go into the thing that you're crafting and then it tells you what ingredients you need, so you're not quite sure what you need. But that's my only real criticism, like the management system, because I'm just constantly filling that thing up and I'm having to throw things away, and I'm like, do I need this thing? I don't even know. So that's my only.
Okay. I mean, there could be there are worse things to go wrong in a video game.
Much worse things,
so
Yeah.
I've opened up the whole map, and the game is still 10 out of 10 material. It's still my game of the year thus far. It's still amazing game. So yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So how about you guys? What have you been playing?
Nick, do you want to start this one off? I mean, I
Sure.
basically talked about it last week, so we'll see your perspective on it. What have you been playing this week?
So I've pretty much exclusively been playing since released The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
On the Wii U. Same as me.
On the Wii U, yeah. I actually, whenever somebody asks me like what I'm playing it on, I always feel like I need to say I'm actually playing it with the Wii U Pro controller, and the first thing I do,
it's
the first thing I actually do every time I boot the game up is actually just turn. You can like turn the display off on the gamepad, so it is basically just off.
So it's just a normal controller from that point.
Yeah, exactly. So just playing with the Wii U Pro controller, it's like the first time my Wii U actually feels like a comparative experience to the other consoles, which is interesting in itself, because like the first impressions playing Zelda, it really just like got me thinking about, wow, like just imagine if Nintendo actually kind of went the way a lot of people have been asking for from a lot of the franchises, and if they just knocked all the motion controls and everything on the head early, because in a lot of ways playing this game with a Pro controller just feels so right. It's I almost find it like more comfortable and more enjoyable than like some exclusive experiences on their PS4 and the Xbox One, which is crazy. But yeah, anyway, I'm like 45 hours in, and this is the crazy bit I wanted to hold off until we're going to say, is that yeah, I'm 45 hours in, I've only done one dungeon.
Oh man.
And I've done I think 30 shrines.
Okay. How many Korok seeds do you have?
So I don't know the exact. All right, on me right now, I think I have over 20.
Okay.
And I have actually already upgraded my inventory with those over 10 times, I think. So yeah, I've done a lot of exploring, and it's kind of funny because it's something I'm kind of notorious for amongst my friends. I always kind of like joke that I'm always playing the walking simulator version of any game that comes out, because I just spend so much time trying to look at every detail, and that's just, yeah, that's the reason why I've been playing Breath of the Wild for so long, and have done so little of the main content.
But you're enjoying it, though, right?
Of the main content, yeah, that's important to say, because
yeah, I am enjoying it, yeah. As well, it's probably a serious contender for my favorite Zelda game. It's so fascinating to me how well every aspect, not necessarily every aspect, but how well like most aspects of the game are actually so strategically designed in a way that's like so Nintendo, but like the style of game you're playing is something that we're all familiar with, these like open world RPG style of game, but there's something about just the moment to moment gameplay that still just doesn't feel open world, in the sense that every area feels so deliberately designed, and there's such a kind of traditional sort of third person adventure game design ethic about it, in that like you see something on the distance that it's clear that you want to get to, and it looks interesting, but then when you get there, you then see at least one other thing that you have to go to.
Yeah, I think I discussed that in the last episode, where when you're going from A to B, there is enough just in your peripheral that you can go. It's something that draws you in this direction, and once you get to that point and figure something out, and there's something to do there, in that area there's another thing to draw you in another direction. So there's not an area in the game where you just stand there and look around and there's nothing to do, or nothing that draws the eye as much as. And I think, Vin, this might be something that you have maybe seen or felt about the game, like, and this is something that I felt about the game before playing it, is like you'll see a screenshot and you're like, there's nothing here, like what the fuck is there to do in this game?
Right.
but once you play it, like Nick, I mean, you can continue on what you're talking about. But yeah, there's always something that is pulling you in one direction, and it's so easy to get sidetracked as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that's actually a really good point about like just if you're seeing a screenshot or even just a short snippet of gameplay footage. Yeah, it can kind of look like on the surface like there's kind of nothing there, but a lot of the reason for that is actually something I really love about the game, and that's that it has like almost as many like collectibles and side quests as your average like Assassin's Creed game or something, except there aren't really any markers on the map. There's not really many waypoints. So it's only for like specific quests and the main quest line. But like for example, there are kind of collectibles and stuff in the game, and I really like that they're not just what they have been in old Zelda games of just a levitating icon, like 3D icon just there, and you just walk up to it and collect it. It's kind of cool that you find stuff like that just by picking up stones off the floor. There's something like so organic about the way this game incorporates all of the sort of additional content that we're so used to seeing from Western RPGs, but they do it in such a subtle way that it is actually, if you don't look for it, you wouldn't notice it, and it might seem like there's less than there is. But the craziest thing about Breath of the Wild is that every time you try and dig deeper into something, there is almost always something else to be found. And
the rules that they've created for the world, whether it be physics or other things, like it all meshes so well together, and it gets to a point where the longer you play the game, the more you kind of look at something, you're like, I know the rules of this game, so let me see if this works. And you try it, and it works. And that's really, really vague, but
no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I know we're gonna get into kind of this mystery, it's like spoiler type of territory stuff, but like, you can pass time at a campfire, right?
Yeah.
You can choose morning, afternoon, or nighttime. Well, if you cut a tree down and cut the tree up, you'll get a stack of wood, and you can also get flint from kind of like bashing these giant like jutting like pieces of black rock out of like mountainous areas. And if you put the stack of wood and the flint in your hands and throw it on the ground and hit it with your sword, you'll make a campfire.
Yeah.
And so basically you can pass time wherever you want, because as long as you have a campfire, you can pass time. So it's like little things like that, like you kind of just figure out, and
exactly,
it just works really, really well. I mean, we could talk forever about this game. I know Vin's having a great time listening to us, but
no, it's interesting because it sounds a lot like I know a lot of people haven't made the connection really, but it's from someone who hasn't played Zelda, and the way that you're talking about it sounds a lot like Minecraft in a weird sort of way. You know, you got all these things in the world, and it's sort of ambiguous of how you use them, and you can figure out how to make different things with it. So yeah, it's interesting. It's good that the game leaves that sort of level of mystery, because it's like I was complaining about last week with Tomb Raider, where you just walk into a new area and Lara's just instantly says, I need to climb up there and grab that rope so I can pull that down so I can get to the next area. And I'm like, thanks, bitch, because yeah, that's exactly what I needed you to tell me, because you know I couldn't have figured that out for myself, you know, the reason for me playing this video game.
Yeah.
So it's nice that there are games in 2017 in that using that sort of thing, so it's pretty cool.
The last part of that story that actually is what made me remember it as being like a weird, like that it felt designed, is that after doing that, I did successfully stealth this camp. I killed all the guys, and I got down to one enemy, and just as I was about to hit that guy, a blood moon happened, which like makes all the enemies come back to life again.
Oh, no.
And it was right on the last guy, and they all came back to life. And it was a nightmare. So I had to fight them all again, like at least 10 guys. And I was sort of laughing whilst I was doing it. I was like, okay, fuck you, Zelda, whatever. And then I did it all. And it was fun, but it felt like the game was going out of its way to like mix it up a bit. And after all that, I got to that shrine. and then it was just an even harder boss fight with an even bigger enemy inside of it.
Sure. Yeah, there's that happened to me once. I beat everyone in the camp but 2 people, and then a blood moon happened, and I had to defeat them all again. Yeah, but it's a really really good game. And we should probably move on, but I will just add, like, Vin's probably gonna hate me. So last Saturday, after our podcast with Mitch, I beat.
You're not going to talk about Yakuza, are you?
I am not. You brought it up. No. I beat Zelda, which I wish I wouldn't have, because that was kind of the carrot on the end of the stick type of thing. Like, everything I was doing in that game was leading up to that fight, and then I beat it, and I was like, well, I don't really need to do any of this anymore. But since then, I've put like an extra 25 hours into the game, so there's that. But nice. That night I got drunk. It was Saturday night. And I was like, I'm going to buy... Well, I should probably move on to another game, because I've been playing this game for like 55 hours or whatever it was at that point. And I bought Horizon Zero Dawn. Hey. And I played through the tutorial section, and then I just went back to Breath of the Wild, just because he's like, I hate you.
Zelda's had its time, dude. Move on.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
So I'm 77 hours into Zelda right now, and it's getting really, really hard to find shrines right now. Like, I've done over 60,
right?
And I think I have another 60 to go. But it's getting hard to do it, and I've uncovered the entire map. I've done a lot in that game. So
to be fair, you got what? You just said 77 hours out of it.
Yeah, and there's plenty more to do, for sure.
You got your money's worth, you know. That's more than... Yeah.
More than most games, really.
An hour, right?
And especially longer than any Zelda game should be, right? But it's not long enough at the same time, kind of thing. So,
well, saying that, now that you've finished the game, I'll only ask the one question. Is it the best Zelda game, or is it still ranked under any other titles?
All right, here we go. Top 3 Zelda. Number 1, A Link to the Past. Number 2, Breath of the Wild. Number 3, Wind Waker.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to see if it would take over A Link to the Past, because Link to the Past is my favorite as well. I'm in the same boat as you. Like, you always get, it's that typical argument. It's like the Final Fantasy argument. Oh, 7's the best. No, 9's the best. Whatever. That stupid argument. It's the same with Zelda. It's either Link to the Past or it's Ocarina of Time. There's never any other one. So it's nice that a third one's sort of been thrown in there now to be the... to mix it up. So,
yeah,
cool.
I mean, it's interesting that the original Zelda, for a long time, I thought was like my favorite. And the weird thing about Breath of the Wild is that I hear loads of, especially older people, whose like favorite game was also the original, that Breath of the Wild is now their favorite because of how similar it is in concept, if you know what I mean. It's their open world nature.
Yeah, well, when they were making Breath of the Wild, I'm sure like hardcore fans know it as well, when they were actually making it, they actually modded a version of the original Zelda game.
Yeah.
When they were concepting areas out for Breath of the Wild. So it's interesting that they've brought a lot of that stuff back in because it worked in that original version of it. So they used it as a prototype, as it were, like the original Zelda. So it's cool that they brought all that sort of stuff back in.
Yeah. It's kind of come full circle, and it's really, really good. And actually, moving on to our first topic, I almost feel bad about how vague we're being about Breath of the Wild. Like you go to a place and you do a thing, and I think this kind of leads into our first topic. So let's start with that. Nick, what is your topic for this episode?
So my topic is mystery in games, and this is largely inspired by the recent NoClip documentary by Daniel Dwyer on YouTube, which is about this exact subject. And the reason I especially wanted to talk about this is for the exact reason you said, Evan. It's like Breath of the Wild is such a difficult game to talk about, especially if you're on a podcast. Like the last episode of my podcast was like 2 hours long, and all it did was describe game mechanics of Breath of the Wild because I didn't want to do any spoilers. But there was still so much there, and I think Breath of the Wild is one of the rare examples of a publisher like Nintendo actually doing a good job at kind of not giving too much away. but at the same time, so many AAA games come out, and with the amount of gameplay trailers and sort of developer documentaries and all of the rest of it, all the promotional material for game, sometimes we know so much about what a game is when it comes out that there's very little surprise. And as somebody who started gaming in the 8 and 16-bit era and some early PC games, I feel like some of my most valuable gameplay experiences have been from games I knew nothing about, and just having to figure out even just the buttons in a game used to actually be part of the fun for me. Right. And so I was wondering how you guys feel about, is there a lack of mystery in games now? Are you somebody who worries about spoilers? And do you think the sort of newer approach to giving everybody so much information up front actually has a kind of impact on even how games are designed these days?
I don't know, Vin, you want to tackle this one first?
Yeah, sure. It's interesting because it depends on the game largely for the most part. When you're talking about like the way they have to promote games, it's just something that has to be done these days. It's not something that is avoidable. Like in a perfect ideal world, it would be nice to say, hey, we're bringing out this game, and then 6 months later we just release it, and then everyone figures it out, and everyone's happy because it's got mystery and no one knows what the game is about. And it's like, and then you get them water cooler moments where people are actually talking about the game and you're getting excited about it. But unfortunately, that method just doesn't sell games anymore. Like we've oiled this machine so well now that we can hype up a whole community of what have we got, like 200 million core gamers constantly playing video games now. We can hype them up to such a point where we can sell games so we can actually fund more newer games. So it's sort of a necessary evil in a lot of respects when it comes to PR and marketing. But in regards to just mystery in general in games, it's obviously sometimes it's a huge problem. It's I was complaining about it today. I was complaining about it last week about the Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's just there's no mystery in that game almost. Right. I sort of know where the story's going, and I walk into a new area and know exactly where I need to go, and I know exactly what I need to do, and it just feels like a chore after that because I know what I need to do, and there's no mystery to it. Whereas you get other games where you're just completely thrown in the dark. Like apparently that's what a lot of the praise that the new Zelda game is getting. So I hope we get that level of it where the game's been marketed to a point where it's just like, yeah, it's Zelda and this is the way it looks, but we're not going to show you anything else outside of that. I mean, that's the recent Zelda game is probably one of the best sort of PR ways to sort of show off your game, because a lot of people, like, even though the game's been shown off for like the last, it got announced like 3 years ago or something. People still didn't know anything about that game until it came out. Pretty much.
That's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Like even seeing what I remember back what was it in E3, they released the first like proper trailer for the game, right? Yeah, even seeing that, like at that time I wasn't even excited about the game, to be honest. I was like, oh yeah, this looks cool, like yeah, I'll play it at some point.
Yeah, it's another Zelda. Yeah.
It's another Zelda. And even seeing that, and then seeing some gameplay stuff on the Great Plateau, which is the first area that you're in, right? Yeah. I saw all that stuff. I actually saw the opening of the game. Like that was one thing that they were kind of showcasing, but before the game came out. But even seeing that, it's like it's nowhere near. There's like basically no spoilers in that, unless you considered any gameplay a spoiler. Like no, like they showed you enough, but when you start playing the game, you realize like that's the tip of the iceberg type of thing.
Yeah, but at the same time as all that, though, I sort of get the sense. I mean, I know I certainly have. I've sort of gained an ability to see if something is a spoiler or if it's not. Like if I see some footage, then I know whether to stay away from it or not. Or if it's a certain company, then I know to stay away from it. It's interesting how we sort of react to it. I mean, we've all heard about the the thing that we refer to as media blackout, where we see a game, we want to play it, we're really excited about it, so we just try and avoid any spoiler that we can. So the mystery of the game is, it's fully flourished for us to explore for when we actually get into it. But it's obviously getting more difficult with contemporary media and how we try and hype people up for this thing. So it is difficult. It's not going
yeah. I mean, something I think that's actually worth mentioning is I think you're totally right, Vin, about it being necessary for a lot of games for the marketing to work the way it does now. But I think that's only really the case for AAA and games where they're just trying to cover as many people as possible, because that is like the most effective way by the numbers. But I think it's like really interesting when you get like indie hits that actually become very successful because of stuff like this. And I think of something like Gone Home, where when it came out, people really kind of just assumed you was kind of in a ghost house or something. Like there wasn't very much said about that game, and that was totally on purpose on the part of Steve Gaynor, and that like so much of the experience in that game is you in your head sort of like asking yourself like what is really going on in this house, and that like the weird narrative turns that game takes because of that, because of people's assumptions from a sort of minimal marketing campaign. I think it gave the game a lot more impact and made it resonate more. And then I also think about stuff like Dark Souls, where it's not quite AAA. Some people might say it is, but it technically isn't. And those games have been building an audience for years now that were much smaller when they started out, and so much about those games is about the community trying to figure out what the lore is and what the tricks are, and like where the hidden weapons are and stuff like that. And they actually don't really tell anything. They in their marketing, it's such a base level concept of the world of the game, and everything else, the story wise, is kind of figured out just by fans reading things and typing it online and making Wikipedia things. And that, I think, resonates so much with people. It was that part of that audience, and what that tells me is that whilst it might not be the most effective way to market a game, there's still massive demand for it in certain gamers.
Yeah, and like you could show like 10 minutes of Dark Souls and like that there's no spoiler in there.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
It's like I mean, like unless you like don't want to know what an area looks like or something, but you see 10 minutes of footage and then you go into the game, it's like, oh no, like that didn't spoil anything. It's just a section of the game, but this game goes so deep in so many different directions that that's not something that is, it's not a story beat. It's
sure
the mechanics and what the items do and where the items are and how to defeat enemies and stuff like that stuff is figured out by the community, like you were saying. It's not something you're going to get from a short video of gameplay.
Dark Souls is a weird one for me because
it's really weird.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I know a lot of people praise it for being mysterious, and I know a lot of people praise it for the fact that you go in sort of blind a lot of the time. But outside of the mechanics, there's not really that much to discover a lot of the time. Like, yeah, it might have like an interesting lore and story if you dig deep enough, but it's not like a revelation when you do find it. Like even after I played like 70 hours of Bloodborne, I still have got no freaking clue what the story is because they just buried it too deep almost, So, I mean, there is a limit to that stuff almost. I mean,
sure.
A lot of the mystery that's in Dark Souls is down to the fact that it's down to the mechanics rather than anything else, if that makes sense. It's kind of strange. It's a weird one with Dark Souls.
I think the big reason what you're sort of talking about and like compared to how other games are promoted and stuff, I think the reason why we don't see it that much is actually because it's mega subjective. Right. If you leave so much stuff up to the person's imagination, it's going to become so subjective and so difficult for people to know what they should be latching onto, because there are deep and meaningful twists that you uncover in those games, and there are sort of secrets and things that you aren't told where you will uncover entire new areas and even find new gameplay mechanics within certain sort of covenants and stuff like that, and certain online mechanics that you would only find if you put the time in to figure it out, and they actually can have quite a big effect on the gameplay experience.
I do get that, but if it gets to a point where you're playing, for me, like I played 70 hours of Bloodborne. I put a ton of time into it. I got the quote unquote best ending, and I still don't know what's going on. Really, like I mean, it's that ambiguous. It's really, really ambiguous. If I put that much time into it already and I still don't know what the hell is going on, it's kind of a bit too mysterious, in my opinion, obviously. Like, there's obviously Souls fans out there that are throwing shit at their computers right now. Like, shut the fuck up, Vin, you have no idea what you're talking about. But for me personally, like, I'm one of these people, like, if I put 70 hours into a game, get the quote-unquote best ending, I want to know what the hell is going on. And I didn't. No. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I totally get that, and that is exactly why it's not common. I just think... It's always from now on going to be a niche thing, but I think for the people that value that type of experience, it becomes something they latch onto so hard just because of how rare it actually is. But I totally understand that perspective though, because I think, whilst I don't know, if a post on your average gaming forum expressing those opinions might make you catch a lot of flack from people.
Yeah.
I expect that.
I mean, I know there's an elitist crowd that follows these games and stuff, but that's just.
But
that's just what I get.
still think
I want my money's worth.
You're in the majority, though.
If you're trying to sell me this deep lore and you're trying to sell me all this atmosphere that's in the game, and it's like, yeah, you're hitting the beats, like, all right, I want that payoff at the end, you know. But when I didn't get it, it was sort of like, it's a bit of a letdown, you know. I didn't enjoy it. But then there's people out there, well, you need to put another 3 playthroughs and different builds and stuff to be able to really understand. It's like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah. It's hard to juggle, like, depending on the game, right? It's hard to juggle, like, what's more important, the game mechanics and the community and finding out secrets that way, or like the story, like the thing that's stringing you along to, you know, from start to finish. And actually thinking about a game like Breath of the Wild, where guess what? Everyone knows the story. There's Zelda, there's Link, and then there's Ganon. That's it. There's nothing deeper than that in that game, but that game isn't about the story. Like, yeah, I mean, it ties it all together. It's basically like open world game with Nintendo looking at open world games, but putting a Nintendo spin on it and refreshing it in a lot of ways. And that's with a Zelda skin, right? And that's what that game is. And it's interesting because I've played 77 hours of that game, but now that I'm going to move on to Horizon, I'm actually happy to move on to a game that has a story. And not only that, like a mystery. Like, I want to know, like, what happened to this world? What are these like these robot dinosaurs? Like, I'm interested in a game that has a bit more going on, like, you know, reading data logs and finding out what happened to this world. Like, there's room for both of those things, but I'm glad that they're both open world games, but yet they're very, very different. And I'm happy that both do exist, and I'm happy to move on to something that has a story. Yeah,
definitely.
I think if a game has mystery to it, and if it's really, really deep into it, then the only thing that I ask is by the end of the game, and if I put enough time in it, I wish to have a payoff. That's my only like caveat when it comes to mystery games. You know,
to a lot of people, the value is in the journey, and I think like Breath of the Wild is another a good example of that. Even where so much of the value of that game is just about the little personal stories you have just because of the weird route you took through a forest one day and you stumbled across a different enemy and you found new items. There's so many interesting and surprising things in that game that are so easy to miss. That also,
and that's why that stuff is spoilery, because that's what that game's about. Whereas with a game like Horizon, it's like, okay, well, give me the rundown on Horizon. Okay, you're this girl, Aloy. Like, that stuff isn't spoilery to me, to be honest. You give me the rundown of the mechanics and stuff, like, I'm totally cool with that. Whereas I would try to steer away from that stuff with Zelda.
Exactly.
Well, anything that happens in the first hour of the game is spoiler-free, in my opinion. That's just how I'm wired, you know? Like, if you tell me something that's in the first hour of the game, it's not a spoiler.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's also another thing where, like, if the game doesn't tell you to climb to the top of a certain mountain, but it's possible for you to kind of go there at any time, you're in this, like, weird situation of, like, people would enjoy themselves so much if they climb the mountain, but if you actually tell them to do that, you kind of spoiling their experience, because it has no impact if you already know something crazy happens when you get there, because it's so shocking to just discover that organically, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to, especially with, you know, again, talking about Horizon and Zelda, is like, what is deemed a spoiler has to do with the game design. A lot of it does. And yeah, it's a weird one. It's a very, very weird one. But man, I could talk about these. I could, once I play Horizon, like, I could probably talk about both those games for forever. But yeah.
Mystery is an interesting one. I mean, it's always something we're going to tiptoe around. It's always going to be that, you know, that struggle between trying to adapt your game to a wider audience versus a very niche, small audience that want that exploration and that adventure, you know. So it's always, I think we're always going to have this ever-ending battle. It's just trying to find the games that that sort of speak to us. So
yeah. And, you know, another thing is, like, yeah, Vin, you're talking about, like, this is stuff that they need to put this stuff out there, all this PR stuff, and it's like, you don't have to go online and look at any of this stuff. You could stay off Twitter.
Yeah, this is true.
Like, they need to put this stuff out there for people to consume, because people are going to watch it. But some of this stuff is up to you to just stay away from if you want to do media blackout. So, you know, there's a balance to be had there. You can't really get mad at them for trying to promote their games, right? But yeah,
and a lot of the time it's not even down to developers. It's strictly down to PR teams, you know.
Right.
And they are very separate things in AAA studios. So
honestly, I think it's rare that a game where that is a sort of core point of the appeal gets marketed that way. I think most of the time, games where this would be an issue, they do avoid spoilers, and I do think that most, like, AAA games are kind of made in a way where, for the most part, like, the mystery or whatever isn't really what you're playing that game for. So I don't necessarily think the industry gets it wrong. I just think that there's undoubtedly, like, tons of people that are still just yearning for that experience, you know.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
Well, we'll always get them in some form or another, I'm sure. But yeah, moving on. Evan, do you want to kick us off with Podcast Reload's topic this week?
Yeah, so our topic this week is genre-wide mechanic changes. So basically, just playing Breath of the Wild and the idea that they took the open world, but they took all of the icons off the map, and they spun the whole idea on their head where you create your own icons. So once you unlock a tower, that, you know, the tower will be on the map. If you beat a shrine, the shrine icon will be on the map. But so you get tower icons, shrine icons, and basically settlement icons. That's it. Anything else in the game, you have to create your own icons. So the whole idea is pushing that exploratory value of an open world where you stand in the tower, you look around yourself. Like, okay, oh, what's that? I'm going to put an icon there because I want to search that area. So the whole idea is they took what became the open world with go here and do this, and this is the icon for this side mission, and this is the icon for this side mission, and all that stuff. They just said, nope, we're going to do something differently. So what I wanted to talk about is, are there any kind of iterative mechanics like that to whatever, insert genre here, third-person shooter, beat 'em up, open world, action RPG, anything. Are there any iterative mechanics that you wish would be adapted by the genre just completely? So, for example, like, if you want a third-person fighting game, would you prefer that, like, every fighting game had something similar to the Batman combat? Or would you prefer, I like open world design as it is now? Or, you know what, every game should do what Breath of the Wild is doing, where you kind of create your own icons. Like, is there any type of mechanic that you wish would not necessarily be adapted by every game, but be a bit more, be adapted by like more than just a handful of games or one game? So do either of you have a idea, or should I start this one off with one of mine?
You can kick it off if you want, man. Don't see why not.
All right, so yeah, we talked about the Batman combat, and one genre that I've loved as a kid that's kind of died and kind of tried to come back, but not just in the most interesting way, is the beat 'em up genre. And that's a lot because of, like, since the proliferation of 3D games, just the beat 'em up genre just didn't really work very well in 3D. Just not the same way it did in the 16-bit era. And I thought it would be really cool for beat 'em ups to come back in a big way by using the Batman combat, to where it's a beat 'em up game. Like, you're moving from area to area, just completely destroying guys and dudes. Not just dudes, just people. But it's not. You like how I explained that one?
That's great.
Guys and dudes. Yeah, that's like the I don't know. It's like the masculine version of like Guys and Dolls that play. It's like
Yeah.
guys and dudes. But not a game like Batman where you're exploring and fighting combat is like one part of the game. I'm talking about, like, I want a 3D beat 'em up. You're going from area to area. Even, once you beat an area, you get the big flashing, hand pointing. Go. You go to the next area. But I think a game like that, like, I think beat 'em ups could come back in an interesting way if they use the Batman combat. And I think if you're focusing mostly on the combat and not even the exploration or any of the gadgets that Batman has, or even like Shadow of Mordor, that type of thing, a game that totally focuses on combat, I think you could do something interesting with that mechanic. I just kind of want like another Golden Axe game. I don't know. Like, so is there any mechanic in a game that you thought like, oh, like, why don't more games use this? Or the genre should take this and make it like something that every game in this genre should include. Like, okay, Nick, I'll say, Nick, do you have any ideas of something you'd like to see in more games? Like a specific mechanic?
Yeah, I mean, most of my ideas are sort of about small things. In general.
Oh yeah, it could be anything, big or small.
Yeah, I think in general, like, I don't really like the idea of video games becoming like uniform at all, really. But there are sometimes just little things, like something that is actually becoming way more common now. This sounds so stupid, but this kind of follows the thing what I was saying earlier about people knowing me for like playing the walking simulators version of games, of just like looking at every detail running around. And that's that it's becoming common to be able to just open every drawer and look through every cupboard in a game. And I know to some people that might sound like such an insignificant thing, but I honestly love that. And like, the reason for that is that it makes the world seem so much more believable, because it makes you feel more like a person if you do just impulsively want to rummage through a set of drawers.
Okay. Like whether or not there's anything in the cupboard, like BioShock Infinite, yeah. Or you could turn on all the sinks, but that did nothing for the game, right? Like
exactly. Just little things like that, and sort of off the back of that, in any game where you have to run away from something, I think it makes sense to expand that to be able to go and hide in those cupboards. And when you think of stuff like Amnesia and almost any first-person horror game since that game, because it's so influential, I've just been able to go in and hide in cupboards and sort of crouch down and peek through the door. That's another thing that, like, to me, it's not only a gameplay mechanic that is how you sort of progress. It also adds to the immersion, because if you was really in that situation, you would be able to go and open that cupboard and hide in it.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's is one of those things that should work, right?
Yeah,
And it does,
sure.
and it does work in good games. I'd say another one for me that this isn't like a genre-wide mechanic change thing. I'm probably going to change the name of this topic when I edit this episode. But the have you guys played Bulletstorm, Nick?
I haven't played it. I've seen
Okay.
it.
You've seen it?
Played.
Okay,
Yeah.
Vin, have you played Bulletstorm?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. I never finished it though.
Yeah.
I think I picked it up on a sale or something. But yeah,
Okay.
I need to get back to that one.
Yeah, I think they're releasing like not the HD version, but like the updated
Yeah, they're doing like
version.
a remaster update
Remaster,
thing
yeah.
with extra bits in it or something. Yeah, I remember it.
But it was like it's a first person shooter, but you had this cool whip that you could like pull things towards you and also like kick them. It had this awesome combo system where you would get weird combos for just experimenting with using the environment and also comboing in the literal sense where you're whipping someone towards you and like punching them or shooting them and then comboing that with a kick or something. Like it was almost like a fighting game. And actually you could experiment with the environment to where like you'd whip someone in and the names of the moves are popping up on screen plus points for each combo. And the more you combo something, the more points you got. You'd whip someone in, you'd kick them, they'd fly back, you'd shoot them with a gun, and then you could whip them again, slam them down on the ground, and then pull yourself in and kick them into a cactus. And that would have a special name. That whole entire combo system would have a special name. And then if you used a weapon and it killed five people, and then you used, as the bodies are ragdolling around, you could combo that into stuff. And it was just, you never really saw that in a first-person shooter where you're actually using the environment to experiment with ways to kill people and do combos and get points that allowed you to, like upgrade your character and stuff like that. It's just one of those weird mechanics that was new and fresh at the time, but no one's really done anything with that with first-person shooters. At least nothing comes to mind. I just thought that was a really, really cool thing that more games could have used and also, iterated on. Because that game came out a while ago. I'm just surprised I haven't seen it yet again.
Yeah. I just thought actually the ultimate genre for like genre-wide mechanics, which I guess is actually fighting games, because pretty much every single fighting game works mechanically exactly the same, where you have 2 buttons for punches and 2 buttons for kicks. And something that they recently did to Street Fighter and Street Fighter 5, I've still not managed to put in as much time as I'd like into that game. But something that they did is kind of simplify the combos and stuff a bit. Like everything about Street Fighter 5 is a little bit simpler when it comes to combos and executing different movesets, which I do think for something like fighting games is for the better. And that is something actually that just making sort of more simple button combinations, which I think becomes possible where from like modern controllers have way more buttons than Street Fighter 2 did, and fighting game design didn't change that much since then. I think like just holding down a couple of buttons to do a more complex move instead of like putting in some like 8 button long combo is so much better for that genre.
Well, if they want more people to get into it than like the hardcore fighting game fans, which is it's a balance, because with fighting games, especially like Street Fighter, the fans are so embedded in hardcore, and that might push them away if you're trying to get in more people.
Sure.
With making that type of stuff easier. So it's a balancing act for sure. That, like, personally, I agree with you, Nick, because I'm not a fighting game guy. I just think there's so much going on in those games. I don't have time to sit down and master like complex combos and stuff like that. So it's just something that's a bit impenetrable to me.
Yeah, it's sort of like that with a Counter-Strike. If you sit down and try and play that game, you just can't, because every single person in that game has been playing it for 15 years.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm never gonna get.
Like, what's the point in starting? No point. Yeah, what's the point in starting?
There's
now?
no point.
Like, so how about you, Vin? Like, and think of any cool mechanic that you'd like to see in other games, or
Yeah, it's tough because there's a lot of mechanics that you automatically think, yeah, that'd be cool if they did that in more games, but then you sort of learn straight away that it's probably already in another game that you just haven't heard of.
Sure,
So
sure.
actually, because they mix and match these mechanics all the time. It's like I was thinking about. I wish they had more free running in video games, like in first person, and then I forgot about Dying Light. There's loads of them like that, but
Yeah.
the one that really comes to mind is in Journey, where there's multiplayer without any communication other than just
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's an
like
excellent
why
one. Yeah.
why don't we have more than that? Why don't we have more of those type of experiences where it's sort of almost like a first person game, but there's other people that can come in and interact and go along your journey? Because the thing is, if you can't communicate with them directly, you're more drawn to hang out with them, so like in Journey, you have no idea who they are. They're just making their little noise, and you're making your little noise back, and you just automatically want to like connect with them and be in the game with them. So you're moving along together. Like, you don't know why. There's no trigger in your head. Like, even if you've played that game 20 times, you know exactly where you're going, which direction you go into. But you'll still follow this random person around, and they'll follow you around as well for no reason other than the fact that you can't communicate. And it's strange that you take away that that vital part of communication, but you can still push through with physical action. Like, I wish we saw more of that in video games.
Yeah, it's like it's the best type of multiplayer for a single player game, right?
Amen.
It's like one of the, and I remember like I've picked up Journey like months after I've played it. I don't know. Every now and then I just kind of want to play through Journey because it's such
it's a 2-hour game.
It's
it's super
very
short,
cathartic. But I've played with people where I've actually helped them along, like, hey, there's a collectible over here, and they followed me, and they've got it. Now, I don't necessarily know if they knew it was there or not. Maybe they did, but
right,
because you can't communicate. But it seemed like they didn't know what they were doing, and I helped them along, type of thing. And it's just that's a really good one that I didn't even think about.
It's interesting in that game as well. If you ever get the white robes, like if you get all the collectibles and you've got the best robe or whatever, I don't know what it is, but the second that you get someone come in and they've just got like the standard red, they automatically just attach themselves to you and like, all right, show me where all the shit is.
Yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. Actually, I found out about the white robe by finding someone in the game that had it, and I was like, what? That is awesome. How do I get that type of thing? Yeah, like, I'm following this guy.
The really interesting thing is about that though is like, because you come across someone with the white robe, you automatically think, all right, how the fuck did he get the white robe? So you're following him around hoping that he'll just like show you where the white robe is, and you never like figure it out, until like you have to Google it on the internet. But if that game came out 20 years ago, it would have been a totally different thing, because there would have just been people walking around white robes. Like, how the hell do you get white robes? And there would have been all these crazy rumors that you have to climb over the waterfall, just stupid stuff like that. I don't know, but
like you have to reach the top of the mountain in under 2 hours, or you know what I mean, like something crazy like that. Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been in
but we need more multiplayer experiences like that. I think that's really the big one, because there's so many co-op games out there as well where you could just play through action a lot of the time as well. Like I was thinking of what game was it? Two Brothers. It's just Brothers, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, the game Brothers. Like, if you could play that on like multiplayer without any communication, that game, I think it would have elevated it.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I think like something that makes the multiplayer in Journey so valuable to me is that it's totally contextual in the world and the story of the game as well, and that is also something that game does just so flawlessly that we also don't see enough. The exact things you're describing are kind of also why it feels feasible for those real people to be a part of this world, because of the minimal communication and so much multiplayer. So often, multiplayer features in games are there to the detriment of the context and the story, which is so unfortunate. And Journey really, really nails that.
Yeah, it's interesting you're more inclined to help each other out when you don't have communication. It was just a really of interesting social study, because if someone cuts up like, yeah, screw you, dude, and it's like trolling him and bouncing on his head or whatever, it's like, oh, really, you just ruined the game. But like Journey just naturally doesn't have that. And I mean, there are people that could troll you, they could just like chase you around or whatever and annoy you just constantly pressing a button or whatever, but no one ever does that in that game, and it's down to the fact that you can't physically communicate with them. So yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to see that in more games, definitely, because I mean, if someone modded Eco one day so they could do that, so like one person was playing as Yoda or something, that'd be super interesting.
Oh man,
just to see how that could work.
Vin, imagine a game like Eco, right? Where it's a single player game, but you're figuring out puzzles. Like you're in a giant castle or what have you, and you're
and there's a big bird dog and
there's a big bird dog. Wait, I think they made that game.
Did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you're trying to figure out puzzle by puzzle. But what if there was a multiplayer thing where another character popped up, and
they were doing the puzzles as well?
They were doing the puzzles as well. And what if there was specific secret puzzles that you could only finish if there was another person in that game? Like that would be great.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be really cool.
I mean, just not even an inside action adventure either. It could be. There's plenty of other games that they could do that with. I mean, it's just inherent. Like if you've got any game with exploration in, which is single player and where you don't need communication really, like to get around or whatever, or there's no combat, like physical combat, then you can put that mechanic in infinite. Like it doesn't matter. It wouldn't affect the core experience. So yeah, I'd like to see that a lot more. I hope more people have taken sort of the leaf out of Genova Chen's sort of vision with Journey, and I hope we see a lot more of that sort of stuff. So fingers crossed for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, there were some good ones in there though.
Yeah, it's there's a lot. It's like RPG systems have kind of leaked into most games, for better or for worse, I suppose. But
for sure. I would argue most games have got an RPG system in there somewhere now.
Yeah.
Whether you're leveling up, whether you're gaining a new skill, a new weapon that you can equip, that's an RPG system that was originally only for RPGs. There's loads of that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, Call of Duty is just the most popular RPG franchise of all time.
There you go, right?
Sure.
If you want to extend it out, yeah. It's like everything. Yeah. Like Shane said that on Sifted once. He's just like, every game is basically an RPG.
Yeah, every single game is taking something from an RPG.
All right, I think we're coming up to the end, right? How do you guys feel about the auto duck in the rebooted Tomb Raider? Yay or nay?
I don't even remember that.
What do you mean? What? So you mean like behind cover?
Yeah. So. Yeah, I should say auto cover. Sorry, not auto duck. When she gets up to like a chest high something, she'll automatically cover behind it.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I got used to it pretty quick.
Like, would you rather have a button like a Uncharted?
I'd rather have a button.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because I want to be able to hit a button and then the character react in a way which I wanted them to. I don't want to be like hugging a wall and hoping, will she duck? Is she not going to duck?
Like,
I don't know.
Is this working or is this not working? I can't tell, kind of thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
how do you feel,
so
Nick?
I prefer a button.
I mean, no, that's a really good point, Vin. Actually, like I kind of feel like maybe that mechanic has a place, and that it didn't like drive me crazy playing that game. But like, yeah, if it's a game with action, you kind of want to be able to press a button to do it immediately, just so you have the reassurance of actual feeling the button, that that's what it's doing for sure. Because the problem is just like, is this working? Is this not? However, I do think with stuff like that there is always a place for something feeling more natural and more immersive, just by kind of making your character avatar like behave like you would. Like you don't really have to press a button in real life. However, it's just so hard to do, and I think in a game with action, it's always going to be one of the trickiest ones to do it.
Well, the best example that I can give, really, the best way they could have done it and the best way that they do it is in The Last of Us and in Uncharted as well, where there's a button to hug a wall to get behind cover or whatever, but the way that the character is animated and actually moves behind said cover is how how it adds that sort of immersion, how it makes it
Yes.
natural. Like when you're playing in The Last of Us and you've got Ellie next to you, Joel will put like his arm over her, like he's trying to protect her, even though he's hugging a wall, and it just feels very natural. Or when Nathan Drake's walking along in a tight space, like he'll put his hand against the wall,
it's like kind of touch the wall,
right, and it just feels natural. Even though you had to push a button to hug that wall, there's still other things that you can do to make the character feel natural. I think that's always the best
that's
way
probably
to
the
do
best way to do it. Is to just add something to it, or like the Division hugging behind a door, hugging behind a car, but
like
closing the door, like little something
Small
like that
little
makes
things
it,
like
Yeah. Something that actually makes me think of immediately that I've always thought is so weird that like reviewers and stuff don't talk about this for first person games is how somehow over the last 10 years it's become normal in an FPS for just like when you get to the edge of something, your guy kind of like clips onto it and you just push a stick to look over around the corner, and it's so weird how common that is and how it varies so much at how well that actually works, because sometimes it's trash and sometimes it's good.
There's I think there's more bad examples of it than there are good ones, but when it works, it works well. It just shows how hard that is to maybe implement depending on the game.
It depends on the game. I mean, like in Dishonored, they have it, but I never use it, it's weird. I mean, most games have it, like FPS games, but I rarely ever use them these days because of all the games that I've played where I've been burnt on it. It's like, it doesn't really work, so I'm not going to use it.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good one.
Cool. Yeah, cool. So we should wrap this up anyway. Coming up to the end of the podcast. Nick, thanks for coming to join us again, man. Really appreciate it.
No worries, man. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you on. If you do want to come on to the podcast like Nick has, all you have to do is message us on Sifted. You can message Evan. He's at the stand user. You can also find us on Twitter. We are at podcast_reload. You can find us on there and let us know where you are in the world, what microphone you got, and when you can actually join us. And we'll get you on to the podcast like we did Nick here today as soon as possible. Other than that, do you want to give your sign-off, Nick? You've probably got a couple of plugs to give, haven't you?
Sure, yeah. If you want to check out my podcast or some YouTube videos or some live streams, you can find all my links and stuff at impartialist.net. I have a regular podcast. Evan's been on once, been meaning to get Vin on soon.
Just don't like me, motherfucker. That's all it is.
I'll
get on there one day, man.
Yeah, this is so crazy with, I've been busy, you've been moving.
Yeah, I've been washing my hair as well. Don't worry about it. Go on.
But, thanks for having me, guys. And
anytime, man, anytime.
Yeah, stay impartial.
Stay impartial.
Stay impartial. Cool. How about you, Evan?
You can catch me at the stand user on Giant Bomb Sifted and Twitter. And that's it. Vin, how about yourself?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I am at VinHillArt. You can find me and some of my finger paintings on there from time to time. And you can probably also see a few retweets from a game that I'm working on at the minute, like a small iOS game. It's a lot of fun. It's trying to make it as funny as possible. So check it out if you like some pixel art stuff. That's all I'll say.
You don't want to say the name of the game?
Denture Dash. You can find it out there. We've got a Twitter page.
And if you didn't know,
I'll probably
Densha means train in Japanese. And also, Waluigi is a take on Waduri, which means bad. All right, I'm done with that.
Thanks. I was going to say, I think you stopped just at the right moment then. But yeah, I'll plug the game a bit more once it's a bit further along in development. We're still in the prototype stages at the minute, so we're still trying to find the fun, as it would be. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. But other than that, I want to say a massive thank you to all listeners tuning in every single week and joining us. As very few or as many as it is, I'm not even sure how many hardcore listeners we've got anymore. It's probably still in the 20s to 50s.
Somewhere in there. That's good enough for me. I mean,
yeah, we appreciate everything.
When this is posted on sifted.net, there is a handful of people that like to comment on the show and add their kind of opinions on the topics that we discussed, and that's always a good time getting there and talk with them about it. So that's enough for me. I appreciate even that much, for sure.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Also, just let us know if we made any screw ups or any fuck ups, so we can correct ourselves next week, because we're stupid and silly and we don't really know what we're talking about most of the time. But we have fun doing it, so it's all good.
There you go. So closing on that note.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you again next time. Ta-ta.
See ya.
Laters.
Laters.